Hello, everybody, lovely people of LinkedIn and YouTube. We are back with another Monday LinkedIn Live. For those of you who don't know yet, even though I'm repeating this every single time, you can watch replays on YouTube as well. It might be easier than scrolling through my newsfeed, so you can go to YouTube. Just type in Micha Matlievski or Fail Coach. You'll find my channel, and then you have a nice playlist with all the past interviews for the last, I don't know, a year or so. And you can scroll there, see what you want to watch, and check it out there. While you're there, subscribe, like, share. That would, of course, be very nice. But without me going into way too much a random rambling, I would like to introduce you to tonight's or today's guest. Kelli, you'll have to unmute yourself. And yeah, it's Kelli. And Kelli, it's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you for being my guest. And if you can just briefly introduce yourself to the audience while I disappear.
Great. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. So I am a leadership coach, and I work privately with female founders and women in management and executive roles. And I work to finally free them from the chronic self-worth issues holding them back. And we work on finding fulfillment and harmony in the work that they do.
Perfect. Well, because I suck so much at coming up with good titles, I always ask my guests to help me with that. And your title, a little bit long, but very interesting. So it says, "Work can stop depleting your very being and become the thing that gives you your life deep meaning and purpose." I love all about that. The finding yourself, deeper meaning, purpose. So let's start at maybe you said you work a lot with female leaders. When they come to you, what is something that you find they're experiencing? Maybe if you give us a few examples without names, of course, but just maybe a few examples, how they feel before they go on a journey with you.
Okay, sure. Yeah, so my clients are high achievers, they're soul driven, they're heartfelt, and they're empathic, which means that they pick up on the energy around them, sometimes even taking on the emotions of others. And so by the time they get to me, they are really cautious about bringing themselves to their roles and leadership and about managing and just showing up as the woman that they are. And so that can become very exhausting when you believe you have to be someone you're not in order to succeed, or you spend all this time trying to fit yourself into this leadership mold that you look around and you see everybody else following along and you're thinking, this doesn't apply to me, this doesn't feel right. And so that becomes almost traumatizing to be someone you're not in order to succeed. So the women that I work with, they feel exhausted in their roles. They're overcompensating. They're struggling with perfectionism. They believe that their role is the problem, the job is the problem. And really what I do is I approach it from the inside out, because that's what you have control over. You don't always have control over how other people are showing up in their roles or what they're doing, but you do have control over how you manage this and how you show up.
It really is about the stories that we tell ourselves, and then the more we tell them, we start believing them. I mean, I remember back before my massive failures, I was constantly playing roles. And Kelli, I can't tell you how many men and women in senior leadership roles, I would say in general, they are a little bit on the older side. Not old. We're not old. We're very very young at heart. But let's say 40-ish and plus. That yeah, they find themselves that they've been playing those roles, wearing those masks, pretending to be something that they aren't, to, I don't know, achieve something. And then finally something comes from within you, where you feel completely empty on the inside, even though maybe on the outside everything feels perfect. From
Yes.
people watching you, they think you live this picture perfect life, and it really isn't like that. But Kelli,
Yes.
let me
On
ask you.
paper, you look great.
Yeah, let me ask you, because I never really dived into why we do that. I just felt that with myself, and then I went on this self discovery journey and so on. But do you have any thoughts on why aren't we just the authentic selves? Why do we have that idea that we have to play the roles, pretend, wear all the masks?
Yes. So originally, when I first started my coaching business a few years ago, I was working with the women who came to me on these challenges and these issues about showing up as themselves and feeling like they have to work 10 times harder, 100 times harder than other people in order to get ahead. And what I found was that it didn't matter where they went to school. It didn't matter where what their title was, how much money they were making, that there was this level of success that revealed like these core wounds that just perpetuated this story that they weren't good enough. And so that caused them to overcompensate and feel like they had to be someone they weren't in order to get ahead, which meant that they just pushed themselves through everything. And so that's how they saw like their initial success. I'll just push myself to graduate. I'll push myself to get the job. I'll push myself. But at some point they get to this level where they can no longer push without jeopardizing their health. It becomes, or feeling like that deep sense of like something is off. This is not right. This is not okay. And because I work with women who are soulful and they feel a lot, they're not afraid to go on that journey that you're talking about, but and while some of the things that we did to address imposter syndrome didn't completely wipe out what they were struggling with. And so I looked deeper. And what I found was that it's core issues and core things that happened to them in their childhood. And so that's where we work from. And that could be, having parents who neglected them or abandoned them, or even later on in life, having coaches who pushed them so hard to perfection. It's just, I found that it's layers, but a lot of it I have traced back to these core wounds from
Yeah,
childhood.
maybe some coaches or mentors who are just go 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 high achievers and KPIs and benchmarks and all of that. Well, when I experienced that, the way now looking back at it, what I feel happened to me was an emotional burnout, because the energy on the inside didn't match the energy on the outside. And um, in my eyes, the emotional burnout is really the hardest. But Kelli, I mean, usually when we coach, often it's because of something that happened to us and our own story. Since I failed a lot, I'm the fail coach, and we then help other people to get what we got. And so I'm quite interested. What was your story? Because you mentioned that only a few years ago you started with this coaching.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's a story behind it. So I would love to hear the story.
There definitely is. And I have failed as well, in knowing that I was coming here to talk to you with your history and your background and how much you show up fully. I've had failures as well. And, I walked away from a 17-year career, and I was running a $34 billion organization. And it took me 17 years to get to this place. And then when I got there and I didn't feel fulfilled, I thought, okay, something is wrong. Something's going on, and some people do need to walk away. Some people won't find fulfillment in their jobs if it's a toxic work environment or it's affecting you in ways that you don't have control over in order to shift that. And I was in a really toxic environment, and I had 3 fibroid tumors growing on my uterus, and I was exhausted. I wasn't sleeping through the night, and I really had to examine, like, I tried to jam my like that round peg into the square hole of that business for quite some time, because when you work that long and you achieve the success, and then you're like, wait a minute, why is the universe showing me a different way? But what I found is the universe makes it really uncomfortable if you're no longer where you're meant to be. And so I really had to examine what I was doing and why I was doing it. And so for me, walking away was for my health. I really was willing to sacrifice a lot for that job, and I did, in getting to that level. But the thing I was unwilling to sacrifice was my health. And as soon as my health, I worked in natural food. So as soon as my health was affected, I thought, I can't do this, But for me, I was cautious about really showing up until the very end. I was really cautious about showing up, calling out what I saw and what was happening. And as soon as I did that, everything started to crumble down. So it was kind of a strategy in order to I was like, I'm just going to put my head down and do this job. And that no longer worked. And so then I was like, I really got to stand up here and say what needs to be said, even though it's uncomfortable and it's really scary. And that is when, yes, all of the support structure kind of let go, and I was thrust into, walking away. But it also was when I started to feel most like myself and have less stress, and the worrying that I had really just dissipated, because I was no longer trying to manage all these pieces. I talk with my clients a lot about keeping all those plates spinning. It was like some of those plates had to fall. It was just impossible to keep it all aligned perfectly. But what I realized too is that the more that I showed up as the woman that I knew myself to be and had my own back in that whole process, as toxic as it was, the more the stress relief came, the more I stopped worrying. And so that's really what led me into the work that I do.
Perfect. I love how you flowed into my next question. And I didn't prepare any of the questions, but just listening to you, I think we could easily try and break one little taboo topic. So I think that often when we do these interviews, we go in the behind the moment, like the story that led to something. And again, and then we go into, who are you now? What do you do now? How do you help people now? But I think it's important to say that there was a journey in between. There might have been an aha moment, but then there was a journey. Things didn't, I mean, often people think or assume, oh, we had an aha moment, we woke up, and then everything was just different and life just changed. And sometimes,
wouldn't that be nice?
yeah, but sometimes I think that journey, or not being aware that there is a journey, can stop certain people from taking that journey. So I would love for you to share a little bit of that aha moment, and then the steps and everything that you took, and maybe how long it took you to go from one reality into another. And yeah.
Yes, definitely. So I am no stranger to the journey. I have been on my spiritual path or professional development, personal development path for decades. So, but there was a lot of like, why is this happening to me kind of thing. I worked so hard to get here, and until I was able to shift and see that what was happening was really happening for me, not to me, nothing seemed to budge. And these things kept happening, whereas the person running the show is like, we just need to get through this and then we'll be okay. Oh, okay, here's another thing. We just need to get through this and then we'll be okay. And every time this transpired, and then there was something else, and then something else, that's when I was like, okay, there's too many things happening here that are showing me that there's something bigger going on, and I really need to stop. And so I was working with an executive coach at the time, because I hired somebody because I wanted to be sure. Walking away from a 17-year career and from the role that I loved that role. I just didn't love who I was in that role. But and she's the one who asked me, she's like, what if this is happening for you and not to you? And I had already considered that, but when she said it, it was just like, that was my aha moment. It was like I snapped into place and I was like, okay, this is happening for me, then what does that mean? I spent a lot of time thinking about the past, looking at, I could have done that differently. I should have said this. Why didn't I do this? Questioning what I was doing instead of being in the present where I was. And then also looking toward my future. Okay, what would it look like if I wasn't here? What are the other options? What else would I want to do? And the thing that I loved doing in the role that I was in was, professional development, helping people personally develop, which I was doing a lot of coaching with managers and people in their roles. And I just loved that. And so that seemed like a natural thing for me to bring with me, but it wasn't easy. It took a good year. It was a year before I said I surrendered, is what I like to say, but you cannot stay in a place where you're no longer meant to be. And there's just sign after sign after sign showing you, like, because eventually the universe, I like to say, drops a piano on your head. It starts with like a tap on the shoulder. And a little shove.
You said that so perfectly. I was that thick-headed, know-it-all, and I really needed a truckload of pianos dropped on my head. And I love how you shared a little bit of this story, that there are signs and steps and so on, because I really want to encourage leaders, well, anybody, man or woman, because they're all experiencing the same thing. I know you specialize in women, but
Yes.
women, but they all experience this, and it's the little signs. But we just keep going and keep going and keep going until we reach a whole lot of pain. Whether
Yes.
that's hospital or this
Yes.
or that, or relationship falling apart. And it doesn't have to be that way. If we just stop a little bit and pick up on the signs and reach out to somebody like yourself for some guidance and help, we can maneuver through that so much easier and faster before something major happens to us. So I really love how you explained that. And I'm really hoping that whoever will be watching this, if they feel some unease, it might not be at a high pain point level yet, that they will say, you know what, let me just talk to Kelli and see if I'm ready for the next step.
Right. And not everybody has to walk away. And my first book is about how to get out of a soul-sucking job, or a job that you feel is no longer aligned. But I also came to realize that while some people need to walk away, other people, they don't want to walk away. They're not in a toxic environment. They just need some tools in order to understand how to find themselves feeling more fulfilled, that like depleting place, going from the depleting place into a place where it's like, oh my God, I can actually be myself. I can show up in this role. I can make an impact in the way that I want to make an impact. And that sometimes those subtle shifts just allow you to like settle into your body and settle into where you are, so that you can be the person that you know yourself to be. It's not like this inner battle and the mind chatter, that negative, unhelpful chatter that's constantly going off in the background. But not everybody can walk away either. And so that's why I work with both. You don't always have to leave.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. It doesn't have to be black and white. It doesn't have to be 0 or 1. You have to leave. There's so much things that you could, and probably you could do things differently and maybe stay in the position you were, if you would tackle that whole thing so much earlier and let yourself just be yourself. So who knows what would happen in that situation. Well, thankfully you waited, you went through a lot of pain, so that today we can talk about this with you, and you're helping so many people out there dealing with the same things. But yeah, I like how you say it doesn't have to be black and white. Kelli, let's go now. So I had a little bit of an aha moment. I feel those signs. I might reach out to you. What would be the first few steps that you would take me, what kind of journey you would take me on. And maybe if you can give some examples. I know our audience loves examples. No names required, but
Mhm.
yeah, they really love examples.
Okay, sure. Yeah. So, what I focus on in the immediacy is really looking at how you spend your time and being thoughtful about how you spend your time. If you spend, a third of your life working and all of that time is spent trying to be someone you're not, and then feeling out of alignment because you're not bringing your whole self into that role, then you're going to feel like crap. And so, I zero in on how they're spending their time and why they're doing what they're doing. If you don't have the why behind it, it makes it really challenging as well. And so one of the main things though that I do is I really work on this deep connection with self. And so I have found that when that missing piece that we look for, that we search for, we think it's really about searching for a purpose, but really that missing piece is you. And so when you don't have the confidence, it's like you have a disconnect when you're trying to be someone you're not. All the things that we're talking about, it's like you kind of live outside of yourself, looking outside, looking in, and not knowing how to just bring it all into alignment. So I really work on the piece, that perfectionism piece, but also the piece of just feeling like work is all consuming, feeling like there's no place for me to show up in this role, because there always is. And so understanding what you like to do, getting a break from what you're doing. A lot of times in that high achiever role, you're just constantly working. And even when you're not working, your mind is thinking about work. So we work on presence. We work on bringing ourselves back into our body. A lot of times the women that I work with, and if you have this, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You're like, this is uncomfortable, I'm out. And you just completely disconnect from yourself. And so I work on bringing people back into their body. I actually have clients in the first few weeks that we work together set an alarm at least 3 to 4 times a day. And that alarm is just to bring them awareness. So when the alarm goes off, they're instructed to look at where they are. Like, where's your thoughts? Where's your energy? Where are your emotions? Where are you right now? A lot of times everything's just happening without them being present at all. And so it really is about bringing them back into that present moment. And then because most of them are empaths, also when they start to feel feelings, when they start to feel like, oh, this meeting doesn't feel comfortable, this person sitting across from me, there's something going on, they mistakenly take it on as their own. And so I also have them check in and ask, is this mine? Even like putting their hand on their heart and just kind of stopping for a moment and saying, is this even mine? And you'll get an answer. You'll get clearly a yes or no. And what happens is once you get the yes or no, your mind drops in to kind of say, you made that up. That's not true. And you bring all this doubt into it after that. But those are 2 techniques that I work on with clients that really help.
I like it. It's really just to disconnect from the old autopilots where they're creating new autopilots, and that mindfulness in between where you have to be in the driver's seat and be present and do those
Mm-hmm.
quick resets while everything's happening around you, because it's so easy to switch on
Right.
the autopilot. So yeah, I absolutely love that. I have something similar with my clients, but they get reminders every 30 minutes because I really want them to reset very often. But yeah, I like that approach. Well, um, how much of the whole thing that's happening on the inside is really just imagination, just stories that we tell ourselves, this is how it's supposed to be, or is it more the influence from parents and colleagues and media and social media and all of that, or is it a blend of both that creates that reality where we don't let ourselves be ourselves?
it's kind of a combo platter. Yeah, there's core childhood wounds, what I call them core wounds, that we need to work through in order to understand where the stories, patterns, and beliefs originated. And so because that those stories and the things that happened to them when they were younger, they're perpetuating the I'm not good enough, I have to be somebody else, or I'm not worthy, the worth issues that come up. And once we start uncovering those and doing the work that I do with them, it's amazing what happens. They feel the comments, clients will say, I feel 4 pounds lighter. I feel like a heavy weight has lifted. I did a 600 person talk, and I had no thought about like, how can I do this? Can I do this? So the results are really remarkable, but we really do have to go to the stories that are running in the background in order to uncover what's holding them back. So I would love to say that, I did affirmations, I did visioning, mindset work, all those things. Nothing worked for me. And that's what sent me on a deeper understanding of what was really truly going on, because, I affirmationed my way for years. This is like, okay. And I'm really great at, calling in the things that I need, but those deeper things like showing up and being seen, those just continue to be part of my story until I really got down to, those core wounds.
Okay. Just one more thing, because we are getting close to the 30-minute mark, and I still have a few more questions for you. But purpose. So you've mentioned purpose. It's in the title. Now, I would say that there's a whole lot of books and articles and social media posts, like you need to find your life purpose. You need to find your life purpose. Now, I think that you need to do some other stuff to allow the purpose to find you when you're ready. And some people are ready at 8, and they know that for the rest of their life they want to play the violin, and some people find
Right.
it at 50 or 60, or in my case I was 37 when I really connected with my purpose, and it was when I was letting go of everything, and I created a space of zero fucks given, and just allowing myself to be who I am and just enjoying life, being in the flow. And that's when I had a collusion with my purpose. So what's your thought on the purpose? How do you help your clients finding their purpose?
So uh, it's a hard, it's a challenging one, because we're told to find your purpose and do the thing you love, and you'll never work a day in your life. And not everybody finds their purpose. Like you said, some are 8, some are in their 30s. I was in my late 40s. And even then I still don't have the overall, like, this is my overriding purpose. I do a lot of things that I love. I'm an author, I love doing trainings. I love doing retreats. I love doing this one-on-one work with clients, and it just evolves over time. And I think the more that you try to like force yourself to like go on this journey of finding your purpose, the further away it's like trying to, reach the inner tube and the waves just keep pulling it out, because the more that you try to force it, the harder it is. It comes through like release, confidence, like just ease. And when you're not in those places of ease and flow, it's it's really hard. And so once we start working on the things that I work on with clients, they fall into that place where life happens in a much more flowing, easy way, and things drop in. They're like, I never saw this before. I didn't even know this was a thing until, one person I was working with, she works for a really big organization, one of the big 4 consulting firms. And through our work, she's like, she became a yoga teacher. So now she's a yoga instructor and she does this other work. But she says, I had no idea this was even something I wanted to do.
Now that's an amazing story. I love that. Yeah, I believe that finding your purpose is like finding love. If you have to force it, you know how they say. Well, you're from the U.S. I picked that from U.S. Um, Love is like a fart. If you need to force it, it might be something else, not just a fart. So if you have to force purpose, it might not be. I think purpose is
Different.
really a feeling thing. I mean,
Yes.
a lot about business or a lot about life is about tapping into logic and brain and thinking things through and so on. But this is really a feeling thing. When it hits you, you just it's like, oh, I just found the missing piece, and
Right.
now everything is complete.
Right.
And yeah,
But
I mean,
finding the missing piece is the journey.
yeah. I just wanted to open this up because I hear all the time, like I'm banging my brain out, trying to find my purpose and so on. And I just wanted to get your take on this because it's so important that we talk about it because it can really make people go crazy trying to find it, and they're
Yes.
really forcing it, and they're just getting farther and further away from finding
Right.
it.
And wherever you are on that journey is perfect. I believe that everything happens in this journey, in this thing we call life, in the order that it's meant to happen. And so, you know, you're learning something in every part of this journey, no matter how uncomfortable it is or how amazing it is. But the journey is part of that finding your purpose. And so wherever you are is perfect. If you can just relax into it and feel like, okay, this is part of this process, and it's you can't connect the dots looking forward. It's like that famous saying, you look back and you're like, I see why now. I
Yeah,
get it.
yeah. The journey really teaches you a whole lot about being patient and just trusting the process, trusting the journey, and not trying to force things.
Yes, 100%.
Well, Kelly, two more questions. Question number one, uh, who should reach out to you? And what's the best way to reach out to you? Is it reading your book? Is it going to your website? Is it connecting on LinkedIn? So what's your preferred way? And well, you already mentioned women in leadership positions. Is it anything more specific, or it's just that?
Yeah, so my website is the best place to find me. I'm on Instagram as well, so you can find me on Instagram. But my website explains a lot more detail the work that I do. And so, yes, the women that I work with, they're female founders. They're in management, mid to upper level management or executive roles, and they are questioning their purpose. Like, they kind of get to this place where, like, is this really all there is? I do a lot of purpose work. They are empaths, so they pick up on other people's emotions. They're afraid to be seen, and they're cautious about being who they are in their roles. They are holding themselves to impossible standards. They're trying to do everything perfectly. There's this exhaustive, just mind repetition of this unhelpful commentary, and they just can't control it. And the stress and worry is really at an unmanageable point. And there's also an inner knowing that it doesn't have to be so hard.
Okay. Well, Kelly, gosh, last question. And I mean, it's so lovely chatting with you. We do need to reschedule and just do another one because I think
That would be
we
great.
can we can talk a whole lot more about these topics because it's just so important and such an interesting topic to talk about. And there's a lot of bullshit out there. Let's just call it for what it is.
Yeah.
And being able to talk to you not just today but when we first met, I could really sense it and really feel it that you are one of the good guys, well,
Oh, thank
the good ladies. So yeah,
thank you.
I would absolutely love to schedule another one, but
Yes.
unfortunately, yeah, the time has come for my last question. And because this is just a chit chat, it's not scripted or anything, I sometimes forget to ask something. And so I call this the last golden nugget of wisdom. anything that you feel is important to share with the audience before you and I say goodbye?
You know, I really do feel that if you're looking around and thinking like, I have to get out of this job or I have to get out of what I'm doing, there's another alternative. And so I really want to grab people, the women, before they leave, before they decide, hey, I'm out of here, because a lot of what's happening can be remedied and it goes with you. You take it with you. And so it's not like the changing the outer doesn't usually work to change what's going on inside. And so that's why I'm really trying to get in touch with people before they decide to leave. Do the work so that you're clear and you understand why you're walking away, rather than having it be an external reaction, a reaction to something external happening around you.
I love that, because yeah, it can so easily, with the emotional burnout, things boil. I like to call it the point of no return. Just like in our relationships at home, if that needle is on your brain because the partner doesn't care about something that you care deeply about, and you say something and they don't do anything about it, and then that needle just keeps sticking in your brain, and at some point you just have enough and you just want out, and at that point they can change completely and you just can't fall in love back again. And it can happen at work, it can happen even if it's your business and friendships and so on. So yeah, I love how you try to get them before the point of no return.
Yes.
Well, Kelli, it was absolutely amazing having this conversation with you.
Thank you.
I really feel you shared a whole lot of valuable stuff. I don't say those things lightly. I really find it very valuable, and I really, really hope that many female leaders will watch this replay and reach out to you and have a chat with you, and that you can get them before the point of no return. But for today, thank you so much. I'm already looking forward to our next interview.
Me too.
And I really just wish you all the best on your journey. And I wish you to help as many female leaders as you possibly can. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen. So this was Kelli. Whew, an amazing, amazing topic. And it was just so wonderful talking with her. I really share a whole lot of her views and the work that she does, the way she helps female leaders is really, really important. We all hear vulnerability, transparency, authenticity, and we want to be who we are. Maybe that inner us is trying to get out and show to the world, but there are just these stories that we make up for ourselves that are stopping us on that journey. And I can't recommend more highly, if you are a female leader, if you're feeling like that, if you want to change something, if you're picking on the signs but you're not sure what it is, to reach out to Kelli and have a chat with her. With that said, I don't want to go too long. Next Monday, another amazing interview. So make sure that you tune in next Monday as well. Thank you all so much for watching. If you have any comments, if you have any thoughts, if you have any suggestions who I could interview next, do reach out. Let me know. I'm always happy to hear from all of you guys. I wish you all the best. Happy Monday, happy week, happiness, success, health. It's still a little bit of craziness around the world. So next Monday, I'll see you again here on LinkedIn and YouTube. And if you're watching this on YouTube and you came this far, then I really think that you need to subscribe to the channel. Take care, guys.